So it is recording now. Is that good? Like, am I in frame?
You're pretty big.
Good now?
Yes, that's good, yeah.
All right. Hello, Ms. Weaver. I'm Joe Andrasko, and I'm going to do my persuasive speech. As we discussed in email, I could only get 4 participants to watch me this time, and Jeff will pan around and show you the other 3 of them real quickly. So should we go? Okay, Jeff, so whenever you have me in frame, just let me know. I'll begin.
All right. Begin.
America is mediocre. In fact, America is falling behind quickly. So I know that's not a popular thing to say, but for this subject, it is apt. I'm talking about education. Education in the United States has slipped significantly over the past few decades. The United States is outperformed by many other countries. The Program for International Student Assessment, which is an internationally recognized program for testing students, has shown that the U.S. college graduation rate has slipped from 2nd to 13th in the past 6 years. Testing of students in various subjects has shown that in reading, the United States is 14th, in science, the United States is 17th, and in math, the United States is 25th. That's below average. Education is critical for this country, not only for the students, but for our economy. Referring to these PISA results, Arne Duncan, Secretary of the Treasury, said, "This is an absolute wake-up call for America. The results are extraordinarily challenging to us, and we have to deal with the brutal truth. We have to get much more serious about investing in education. America must reclaim the mantle of educational excellence. There are many reasons to support reversing the numbers in the PISA report. One of the most important is unemployment. Everyone knows that unemployment is really high. Unemployment has been 8 to 9% over the past few months, if not years. However, not many people know that the unemployment rate for skilled workers is much lower than that. Skilled unemployment is down so much so that many of those jobs go unfilled. In speaking before Congress, the General Counsel for Microsoft, Brad Smith, said, "The U.S. is falling short on education, creating a situation where jobs move in search of the right people. We will not bring unemployment down to the extent desired until we skill up the population to attract jobs that otherwise will be located elsewhere." Furthermore, the Milwaukee-based Manpower Group, which is one of the world's largest temporary worker agencies, conducted a survey showing that 33% of the 38,000 firms that they polled in over 44 countries had trouble finding workers. 33% couldn't find workers, and a lack of skill was the highest reported problem. And this problem is international, but it is also here in the United States. In the Americas, a full 41% of firms polled reported the same problem. America is simply not producing the students to fill these jobs. 50% of enrolled students do not graduate college. To address this, President Obama has included the goal of increasing America's proportion of college graduates to the highest in the world by 2020. However, there are many challenges to achieving this goal. Brian Cook, Director at the Center for Policy Analysis, American Council on Education, and Terry Hartle, Senior Vice President, Division of Government and Public Affairs, released an analysis of the President's 2020 goals. They reached 2 conclusions. First, primary and secondary education need extreme improvement. Quote, "Colleges need high school graduates who are ready to tackle college-level work when they enter. As it stands, nearly 50% of recent high school graduates take a remedial course within their first 2 years of college. Research reveals that students who need significant remedial education are far less likely to complete a post-secondary degree than their better prepared peers." The second conclusion that they came to was that the government needs to stop and reverse the recent severe cuts to education funding. Quote, "States need to stop abandoning their responsibility to fund public higher education. More than 70% of college students are enrolled in public institutions, and the financial stability of those institutions depends heavily on the decisions that state governments make about supporting them. Over the last 20 years, state government support of higher education has fluctuated, but in almost every state today, it has a smaller percentage of the state budget than it was a decade ago. Hardly any public colleges or universities still receive the same share of their budget from state sources that they did a decade ago. This is not just a public school issue, however. To exacerbate this funding problem, college is becoming less and less affordable across the board. according to Richard Vedder, professor of economics at Ohio University. Quote, in 2009, spending by Americans for post-secondary education totaled $461 billion, an amount 42% greater than it was in 2000, after accounting for inflation. This $461 billion is the equivalent of 3.3% of the U.S. total GDP, and an amount greater than the total GDP of countries such as Sweden, Norway, and Portugal. Without skilled labor, we put ourselves at a disadvantage. Other countries have more students who are better educated. Secretary of Education Arne Duncan, in testifying before Congress, stated, "Our students today are competing against the children in India and China. Those students are going to school 25 to 30% longer than we are. Our students, I think, are at a competitive disadvantage. I think we are doing them a disservice." If America can't produce the workers, our economy will suffer as jobs increasingly go to competing nations. The PISA scores I mentioned earlier were used by an OECD study with Stanford University. It was projected that if the U.S. boosted its average PISA scores by 25 points over the next 20 years, there would be a gain of $41 trillion in the U.S. economy over the lifetime of the generation born in 2010. $41 trillion. If the United States doesn't produce the students that can claim this $41 trillion, other countries will. All of these factors paint a grim economic picture for the United States if we can't change our course. But what can be done? The United States needs to invest more in education at all levels. A lack of funding causes many problems. Education funding is often seen as optional or tertiary to other budget concerns. Increasing the budget at primary and secondary schools will better prepare students for the rigors of college. And better educated students will want to attend college more, and when they do, they will be more successful. Even in these tough fiscal times, it is possible to focus on education as the investment that it is. The United States is clearly capable of producing brilliant and skilled workers. With an increase in focus, we can produce even more. These methods are being advocated by President Obama, the Secretary of Education, and an increasing number of school administrators across the country. Given that we see this need, and there are plausible solutions being discussed, what can we do collectively or as individuals to solve the problem? The United States wants to be a leader in engineering, science, and technology. We produce many talented students now, but we can produce more. We have the tools to accomplish this. The school system infrastructure is already in place. An increased focus and financial commitment could bring much-needed dollars that would allow these institutions to excel. It will require paying a cost in the short term. However, this cost is more of an investment. It's more of a down payment on the future economic gains recognized by having a highly skilled workforce. In summary, there is a lack of skilled workers in the United States right now, and this shortage will hurt the entire economy more and more as the United States falls further and further behind. Increasing focus and priorities, which means dollars, on education at all levels can help reverse this trend. Write your congressperson to urge him or her to support increased funding for education at all levels. In doing this, you are helping secure America's economic place in the world for future generations. Education is critical, though, not just for the economic benefits, but an informed population will have the wisdom to solve problems that are too big to be solved by one person or even one country alone. We should not be a country of people dismissive of science and education. We should be one that invests in future generations.
Good.
Thanks.
Try to stop it.
I'll stop it.